And then there's all those legal issues that you may not really consider. So some of you are probably already familiar with this hierarchy of different licenses and patents that apply to the production and distribution of models. Some of you may not be. It goes all the way from cloning to the technology used to make models, so microinjection, homologous recombination, positive negative selection, isogenic DNA, the OncoMouse patent, and then specific gene patents. So one or more of these will probably apply to your mouse. And we have, some of these patents have since expired, but we have licenses to all of the relevant patents here. And we take the position of respecting your IP, whether or not it's patented. So if you patent it, it doesn't mean that we'll give you more in royalties. We would treat it the same. And I would say if you really have the next big Alzheimer's model, that's probably one you want to patent. If you have one that it's not clear is going to be a blockbuster, it's really not worth it because you do control the distribution of that mouse through MTAs, through our label license. You could say that somebody else could make, another version of a knockout of that same gene, but as we discussed today, actually, they don't always have the same phenotype. So I think if you have that validation data, as we're talking about for the cell line, it's not going to matter that your line's not patented. People are going to want that line that people have published on. So hopefully it's something too small, I'll really walk you through it. Like I said, there's a product life cycle. There's phases of model development. You'll see along the left, there's a sort of arrow pointing from low to high usage and commercial value. The first phase, of course, is model generation. So you design your construct, you figure out this gene would be interesting to look at, either to knock in, knock out, in some other way modify, and you make your model. You may publish at that point, you may do some further characterization. This may take you 6 months, 2 years, even longer. At some point, hopefully, your model, if people identify it as a useful research model, more papers get published about it, it becomes more of a standard model used by people, and hopefully you have some method to distribute the model so that it can become the standard. And then we sort of consider, mature or fully defined models, ones that are validated and accepted. And certainly models can decline in use too if something new and better replaces it. We want to have a portfolio of relevant models. We have this sort of term that we like to use, which is the Taconic transgenic exchange. And really it's all of the ways that we can distribute models. So for models that you've just created, and that maybe you're doing some initial characterization, there's one paper, there's 2 papers, those are you're probably distributing them as what we would call a proprietary model. So whether you breed that with us as a contract breeding project or whether you just have it in your animal facility, it's a proprietary model. You're not advertising it. You're sending it out upon request, generally. For models that are maybe a little bit more well-known, or you've got a paper and you've got some interest, maybe you've got 10 requests and you want to share the model, but you don't want to have to pay $200 every time you send it out. We have something called the Emerging Models Program. And so the investigator retains all the rights. So you own your model. It is bred at Taconic as a contract project, but you own it. There's limited distribution because you control the MTA under which it's, or label license if you choose, under which it's distributed. And then those are models you own, in which you actually bear the cost of breeding, but there's a cost recovery mechanism because you're selling them. And so if you have a pretty good model, you could make money. I'll show you some economic models at the end. And then for models that are really well defined, because there's a pretty significant upfront expense in taking these models in, maintaining them at whatever size people are using. If they're using 100 mice in a small age range, our colony has to be sized to provide that. Certainly that's a significant expense every week. So these are models that we would consider have significant commercial potential that we would in-license in our TTM program, Taconic transgenic model. And so I'll talk a little bit more about each of the specific programs. But in this case, we would bear all those costs and then return a royalty to the tech transfer office, who hopefully would return some to you as well.